In grade 11, we have set a little topic from Study and Master, grade 11 textbook, and page 194. So here is the experiment. We've got some supposedly seashells, which we're going to crush up and we're going to determine the percentage purity. And it describes how to do it on page 194 of the grade 11 Study and Master. So let's suppose that we can't get out to the beach, so we've decided we're going to use instead chicken shells. So now we're going to remove the membrane. So watch, I'm pulling the membrane. This is the membrane. I just want the shell part. So I pull the shell bits off. Don't lose any. And I'm going to put them into a transparent bottle. And the thing is just to pull all the bits of shell off and put them into the bottle without losing it. So there. So if one looks inside the bottle, there's bits of shell, and here is the piece of membrane, because you don't want that interfering with your results at the end. You just want to see how much shell has disappeared, and if you've got membrane, then it's going to add to the mass. And then you take your next bit of shell and you again pull, and here comes the membrane off the egg, leaving the shell. So do you see, that is all membrane. We want to throw that away, but we want all the bits of shell. So we drop the pieces of shell into our bottle, but not the membrane. So it's going to take you it's a bit tricky. But if you, as I say, don't take the membrane off, you're going to be left with membrane adding mass at the end. And that's going to be a bit of a pain, because that's going to confuse you and you're going to think that was bits of shell that were left. So I leave you to figure out how to get all the membrane off from the shell. If you're a scientist, you're going to be fastidious about that. And then we just get some vinegar. So here is some white spirit vinegar. And then you just pour that into your bottle. Make a note of the time and the date. And then that vinegar is going to eat away at the shell. And every day you're going to check how the shells are doing. And then at the end of a week or two, you're going to look and see how much remains. And then we're going to find out how much of the original shell remained. And to do that, you need to keep. Here's a control egg, a similar egg, which you don't put in vinegar, but you could treat it in exactly the same way, or you could just keep it. We're going to have to figure out how we're going to work out what percentage is left over when we're finished. The normal way is to pour the remnant through a filter, weigh the filter, dry the remnant with the filter paper, and then re-weigh it. But we can't do that, so we'll just have to kind of guesstimate it. So it's that simple. Just get the membrane off the shell of an egg, drop the pieces of shell into vinegar, leave it for a week or two, and if you want to, you could film or photograph how the shell is doing after all that every day. And it's only been about 2 or 3 minutes, and just look at the bubbles on the shell of the egg. You can see that it's already the vinegar has begun to act on the shell and turn the shell into carbon dioxide, water, and a salt. But look at those bubbles already, just after a few minutes, literally a few minutes, and there is the shell of the egg. So we, in this experiment, want to see how much of the shell is going to remain after the vinegar has done its work. Obviously, our shell has to be the limiting reagent. You have to have an excess of vinegar. You can't have it run out of vinegar. Do you see how those pieces of shell have got carbon dioxide bubbles and they're beginning to float? The carbon dioxide is pulling the little smaller pieces to the surface almost. But just have a look at that reaction.